I'm Margaret Ann Windsor. I'm going to try to make this short. I was kidnapped in 41 and age 2, born in 1939, and I was brought. My father's Edward VIII, who never married Wallace Simpson. It was a character assassination that took him down. He was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, who was actually queen in 36 and should have remained just as my dad remained king. It was a legal move because takedown, using lies. He never married Wallace Simpson. An imposter did. An American spy was Wallace Simpson and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. My father wouldn't go along with the Illuminati, your Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, Jews that control your banking. Um, and the Kennedys, and JFK helped kidnap me. He flew in and out. His father, Joe, was made ambassador to England by another Jew, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Uh, Made ambassador, and this is how to England, and they had to kidnap me then in 41 because the addendum that my father signed was legal and binding. Remember, he was illegally removed. This is a whole lie assassination. And they kidnapped me because the day I was born, because of the addendum, I was Queen Victoria II, the legal heir to the British crown. Elizabeth and her father and her brood are illegal, and they work for the global government, the Illuminati, that kidnapped me. And yes, she knew about my mother. Winston Churchill helped destroy the Windsor files. So I'm not going to go any further there. I wanted to put it up. I did not know. I was most unprejudiced. I was never prejudiced. And I start to say unprejudiced. I guess it makes something about every word I say. I was kidnapped and given another name of a twin in Moulton, Alabama. At age 41, JFK helped bring me there. And I'm not going to reiterate on the kind of life I've led. What I found out later when I started finding out my name, I found out, and it made sense. Martin Luther King, Coretta Scott King, they knew about what happened to me April Fool Day of 80. Well, he was dead. But he and JFK that helped kidnap me, his father and that brood there, I mean, that's pretty good, kidnap a monarch and take down my father with character assassination and kidnap his daughter. That pretty much killed him, didn't it? And my mom and the British. Now then, they're talking today about Martin Luther King. He partnered with John F. Kennedy, and it has its roots with the mental health being blamed for mind control murders. I don't have the photo to show Kennedy signing a thing before he was shot. But Martin Luther King certainly was a part of it, and he knew about me. The whole thing was take down the British Empire, uh, the diamond mines, all of it in South Africa, and they used the race issue there, just as they're using it now to insert Meghan Markle into, my God, she could take down Elizabeth, who's illegal, when I can't, and I'm the legal monarch. So I don't want to reiterate too much. They're showing Martin Luther King here. It's the day he was assassinated. All of them are telling it. They won't tell about me or my dad or the mind control murders I wrote about, which would take this country pretty much if the truth's ever told about it, and it should be. Now, you talk about going to the mountaintop, Martin Luther King. I wasn't against you until I found out about what you helped do to me. Reverend Andrew Young, I walked right into his office. He knew about what was done to me all along. He was with Martin Luther King when he was shot in Memphis. Okay, he became mayor, but first Jimmy Carter, who I thought was good, was governor and then president. He appointed Martin Luther King as ambassador to the United Nations, which came to be because of my kidnapping and the takedown of my father. Um, that's a front for your global Illuminati, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds that control your press. So he was instrumental in what happened to South Africa. He was also knew about me, all of it, about what was done to me April Fool Day, my real name, all of it. The press won't touch. And if I sound garbled, I lived on the Appalachian Trail up here. So Martin Luther King was for civil rights. I don't know what a civil right is. I've had hell done to me and my children. I have had hell done to my parents, who was a monarch and taken down. He was is a decent man, and my mom. And I guess I'm going to leave it here. I put so much up, and I have an autoimmune disorder which has been used against me the past years. I'm kept a pauper and no place to live. It looks like I'm running around to the press and telling all this, and they won't touch it. I found out about my kidnapping in 1983 after I was flown out to Mr. Flint's because I was writing about mind control murders. And I won't go into that again. The guy was programmed to shoot Larry Flint. And I was flown out there later. I'd never met him. And I'm going to say this about Mr. Flint. When I walked in to his home that night, about October the 1st, I believe, and he helped me in that campaign to replace Larry McDonald, congressman doctor that I'd written about in the book. He said, "You don't have to tell me anything about yourself. I know all there is to know. I know that they were going to send you back a vegetable." I'd never met him now. I knew it was a program shooter because it was done in patterns in Lawrenceville when I was doing the book in 76 till they almost killed me April Fool Day of 80. And they almost killed me more than one time, believe me. So I'm going to leave it there. This was in 84 after I usually put up the magazine article. It was editorial that Mr. Flint did April the 6th or 4th of 84. And he'd furnished me a car for a year. And I usually put it up. I won't put it up again. It's all over Facebook and YouTube anyway. But in it, he said that I know who's responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville, and he mentions Congressman Larry McDonald, Dr. Congressman. That was the campaign I was in. And this is in 84 after Buddy Darden won that campaign, who was good. He was the district attorney and all this from Cobb County, a lot of it. Anyway, he says in there in the endorsement, and I've put it up on YouTube. So what's the question here? Because he's made that statement. I was out there. All of this has so much been put up on YouTube and Facebook, and yet the man held accountable. I don't know that he was actually held accountable. I Googled it, and I'm getting a different thing than what I knew. I thought the man was tried for the murder of the attorney, Flint's attorney, and for hurting the judge and for shooting Mr. Flint, who's paralyzed from the neck down. But anyway, I Googled it, and they said that he was put to death, but for they called him serial murder, which a lot of these serial murders are programmed. People who are programmed, like the Parkland young man in Aurora, Colorado, and they say they're mentally ill. So I'm back to Martin Luther King and Kennedy, and then Edward Kennedy, of all people, got away with murder. And let me say this real quick, and I got to stop. When I'm remember climbing the top of the mountain, Martin Luther King, I lived on it, Appalachian Trail, where you knew so don't tell me about civil rights. I lived off of Mountain Pass for quite a few years. I starved and I froze because people were told not to help me. I'm the victim in this. I haven't committed a crime. They have been stacked one on top of the other, almost like the FBI letter, June the 23rd of 79. I didn't know my real name then. I thought it was because of the book. Ongoing investigation, national security involved. Because if you tell this whole mess, suddenly you have to put it on the control media, though, it's controlled by the Rockefellers, and they won't do it. Your media is all control. So I'm going to go now because I'm tired. I lived up there, and I had JFK Jr. Come up there about the 94, 95, the spring. And it's dated. Anybody can check it because the little 3 miles from Mountain Pass, close to the post office. This is kind of around from the old trail where I was living in the hikers shelter up there, which is a lean-to. And you talk about the cold and freezing. When I didn't have a tent and I didn't have a bedroll, I lived up there just to survive. And JFK comes and it's his cousin, I guess. He died later with cancer, but the two of them were together. And I said, "You look like JFK Jr." He said, "That's who I am." They had a backpack and everything. They come and put their backpack down in front of me, and I was talking to him. He said, "I came to see how we made you live." So we stood there a few minutes, and he ate his peanuts and pulled out food from his backpack. He knew exactly I'd starved and frozen. I didn't even know he would know about me. I knew his father had helped in my kidnapping. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. You can date that. Somebody's got to know that he came up there, because it was the next spring that the section from Mountain Pass up to the Full Heart Knob was made. So you got the old trail and the new trail. So that can be dated. Somebody's got to know he came up there. And then his plane went down. He married a twin. And so I wonder if he saw my face before he went down, because I've certainly been through hell because of who I am and who committed the crimes. I'm paying for your crimes, America, and part of my family, and Martin Luther King, and Reverend Young, and all of you. No one have touched anything except Larry Flint wrote article and helped me in the campaign. I guess that's all I have to say. One more thing. This is Columbo, I guess. He's one of my favorite programs. This was in '84 when I was trying to take the car back, but I had no money. So I've been cut off from Mr. Flint. They won't hang up on me. They just put me through. I couldn't talk to him. Here's this thing on the YouTube, but she was programmed. Don't anybody tell me that she wasn't, because she was. I don't know what all they're saying there, and I'm going to have to go in a minute. Yeah, well, they just showed her. She just went into YouTube yesterday and shot some people. So I guess that's all I was going to put up. I'm too tired right now, and when I think of all the stuff about the Kennedys, and I think of Martin Luther King and how my life is over. They killed my father. They assassinated him just sure as they'd put a bullet to his head. And I hope the world has to look at what they've done to me. Henry Kissinger, the 18-minute and a half gap in the Watergate tapes that were subpoenaed. I hope so. I hope it's laid out in front of the whole world, and you have to see what you've done to me. You haven't painted a picture of me or my father. You've lied about it all, and thus your global government, controlled by a bunch of money-hungry